But we were talking about the Phillies, and one of the things that we were talking about was if we overreact to early season takeaways, which what a lot of people, including myself, are probably doing right now with the Phillies. But I think that's what makes sports so great. But we're going to detour a little bit and get into the Eagles because we keep waiting on this Nick Sirianni contract extension. We keep waiting for it to happen, and we haven't got news yet. I would have thought this would have happened long before the draft, and now we're 2 weeks from the draft. So at the owners' meeting a couple weeks ago, Jeffrey Lurie was specifically asked about Nick Sirianni's extension, and this is what Jeffrey Lurie had to say.
Nick's going to be our coach, and we don't talk publicly, never have. You guys, I'm sure, will find out soon enough when Nick will be our coach going forward, and he's done an outstanding job. When we were 2-2, right? We then proceeded to win, correct me if I'm wrong, we went 16-1 after that. 16-1, and the one was when Jalen Hurts, we were winning the game, got a concussion. So it's not easy to go 16-1 in the National Football League, 4 of which are against playoff teams, one of which Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So outstanding job. Everything that I had hoped for with Nick, he embodies, whether it's connection, intelligence in so many ways, from football intelligence, emotional intelligence, managing of people, hiring of assistant coaches, growth mindset at all times. It's one of the reasons Howie is so good. Incredible growth mindset. Neither are risk averse. These are all the things that we embody, appreciates, and is a big contributor to the culture we have. Everything that, I had hoped for early on, identifying Nick as the next head coach, has come to pass, and great to work with.
All right, so that was Jeffrey Lurie at the owners' meeting, and clearly they're going to give Nick Sirianni this extension, but that kind of falls right in line with the topic that we're talking about is, do we overreact to early takeaways? Because we were talking about it when it came to the Phillies season. But you look at Nick Sirianni, we definitely overreacted to his first press conference. I mean, a lot of people were overreacting to that because it was a terrible press conference. And then we overreacted probably after the Flowers speech. Then they went on to make the playoffs that year. And we certainly overreacted to what Jeffrey Lurie was just talking about, that 2-2 start, and then they go on to be 16-1 the rest of the way, when at the bye week we were overreacting to everything from the offense, the defense, the head coach, everything. So he's going to get the extension. I think we all agree on that because his current deal is set to expire after this season. They're not going to bring him back as a lame duck. But he signed a 5-year, $35 million deal. That's what it was reported. So that's $7 million annually.
Your cut was what?
I wish, man. But Adam Schefter, who joins Kincade and Salciunas every Wednesday, I believe, was on last week, and he was asked by Andrew and John, what could Sirianni's contract extension look like? And I was a little surprised, I know Ray was too, by the number. Listen to Adam Schefter.
Well, it's going into the last year, right? So John Harbaugh had 1 year left, and the deal went through 28, so 25, 26 weeks. My guess is they would tack on 3 more years, is my guess.
So they would tack on 3 more years. So that would mean that Nick Sirianni would be the head coach for 4 more seasons. So a couple of questions for the listeners, if you want to weigh in, 610-632-0975, and for you, Ray. You gave Sirianni a 5-year deal when he had absolutely zero experience as a head coach, and you didn't know what you were getting. Now he has 4 playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and a Super Bowl victory, and you're only going to give him a 3-year extension? Doesn't that seem like a little light?
Oh, yeah. And I know this is wild coming from me, but I would be insulted, personally, if they only gave him 3 years. They at least have to give him 4 to match the length of the original contract. I don't think there's any other world than giving him this season plus 4 more to get to the 5 years that he originally got. He's proven you correct. And you talk about winning and winning big and all those wonderful things that Jeffrey Lurie does. If you spend the cash on this guy, and hey, I know you just came into some cash with selling off some of the team, you pay this guy, you keep this guy here. If you believe, that soliloquy he went on for 70, 80 seconds sounded like it was the talking points that you get forwarded in the group chat every time that you guys need to pump up Sirianni. He obviously loves the guy, and if you believe everything that you're saying about the guy, he's already accomplished more than anyone else has. as an Eagles coach. He won a Super Bowl and went to a Super Bowl. There's no other coach that can say they've done both those things. Doug Peterson won one, never got back to another. Andy Reid went to one, never won one. Dick Vermeil went to one. Like, you go through this whole list, and, like, unless you're taking me back to the 40s and 1960 and all that, like, the success he's had, you can't deny it. He's doing something right. Will I ever be able to put my finger on exactly what that is? Maybe not. But with what he did this year, you have to reward him with the contract that he deserves. You thought, like, they gave Saquon Barkley all that money to extend a contract that had 2 years left on it for a running back, for a position that, you might actually see someone break down. He's a coach. You got to go give him the money now. You have to reward him for what he's done.
So when you talk about rewarding him for what he's done, our buddy Booney from NBC Sports Philadelphia, Dan Roach, wrote a really good article back on April 3rd looking at the reported contracts of the other top-paid coaches in the NFL. So when you say pay him like he deserves to be paid, let's look at some of these numbers. And this maybe could affect the amount of years that Lurie wants to give him. Because when Lurie gave him 5 years, they were only paying him $7 million, right? A year. Andy Reid makes $20 million a year. He's not getting Andy Reid money. Sean Payton makes $18 million a year. Sean Payton, great coach, won Super Bowl, I believe.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin makes $16 million a year. Jim Harbaugh makes $16 million a year. Jim Harbaugh's never won a Super Bowl, right? He's been to one. Never won a Super Bowl. Great coach. Mike Tomlin, it's been a while.
Yeah, but you paid for Jim Harbaugh to leave Michigan. That's
Correct. Correct. But Dan Roach, who's listening to the show right now, who wrote the article, he just texted me. So he's predicting 4-year extension. So that's 5 seasons and a minimum of $16 million a year, which would make him tied for the 3rd highest paid coach in the NFL. I don't disagree with Booney. And I, in fact, love Nick Sirianni, as I'm accused of. But I will say this, Ray. We are talking about a head coach that at the bye week needed to be called in to the owner's office and said, hey, calm it down a little bit, right? So even though he won a Super Bowl, could Jeffrey Lurie be a little reluctant to say, I'm going to lock you in for 5 years at $16 million a year? Because if things don't work out, let's say year 3, and they'd have to make a move, which I'm not predicting, now you're talking about eating $32 million. It's a little bit different. So would you be willing to give him 5 years, $16 million a year?
See, Lurie can't take the long road here with, we're building with the thought of 3 years down the future following this Super Bowl instead of the first time around and not secure his guy long term. Like, to me, that's doing an injustice on a coach when you're talking as an organization of, hey, we're saving money now. We're not giving out contracts now because we got to build long term. We got a young core. We're going to compete for a while. Well, guess what? The guy that took that young core to a Super Bowl as the head coach, you got to lock him in long term too. And by the way, to what Booney checks in, sign right here on the line.
You would take it.
Yeah.
So you extend them for 4. That's 5 more seasons of Nick Sirianni and $16 million per. Now, I'm with you. I would do that. Shocker to everybody, right? Shocker. That
I was more shocked that I'm this adamant about it.
Shocker that Bill Sirianni would do it. But I am curious what our listeners feel about this, because we know that there are still people out there who tolerate Nick but don't necessarily love or trust the Super Bowl winning coach. Would you be willing to do what was just proposed by Booney? Ray said he would sign right away. Would you give Nick Sirianni 4-year extension, which means he's your coach for 5 years, and make him the 3rd highest paid coach in the NFL? Because we're going to be getting this news soon. It's got to be coming down soon. But what would you do if you were Jeffrey Lurie? 610-632-0975. You could weigh in on the phones or by text. And we're going to keep the Eagles conversation going as we talk about Nick Sirianni, because the Eagles have a blueprint. It's something that Howie Roseman has followed for quite some time, and it helped them win a Super Bowl last year. And I read an article about the Eagles' blueprint and teams in the NFL being that it's a copycat league that may try to copycat the blueprint. And it made me angry at some of the teams on here that are in a position to copy what the Eagles did. I'll explain it on the other side.
Hey everybody, it's Bill Colarulo. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so you can engage during the show, and you're not going to want to miss all the content that we post. It's not only the live videos, it's videos after the fact. It's our shorts. It's all the content you want as a Philadelphia sports fan. Looking forward to connecting.